Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are going to have a jam-packed show tonight as Tom Whitmore is here to kick things off this week with a great story. We're going to look into all the UFO craziness coming up here. And you know what better guy than little Tommy Whitmore to join us for this event. The best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you as we have Eternity Eternal in the gold medal position. Race Fan with a silver. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a bronze medal tonight. That is exciting. Hi there, Paramarv. Richard Minnick, how are you? Kitty Cattywack, thanks for joining us. Michael Morris, the Attorney at Large. Nice to see you. Robert Lamoth, Frankie B, Ethanol, Necessary Dialogue, and Mama Catherine. I love you, Mama Catherine, my dear. It's good to see you. Good to see you. I hope you had a wonderful day. Bar Madison, thank you for coming on in. So we continue on with our roll call tonight. There's Road Flare and Carol Amerio. Good to see you. Major Lee, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you, my friend. Les Paul Holland is here. Les Paul Holland will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Zed Hut, nice to see you. JMJ12, good to have you here. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. S. Vermette, Operation Shutdown, and Thomas Rock. Good to see you. Little Timmy James, we miss you in studio tonight, buddy. We do. Sweet Robbie G will be filling in for little Timmy James tonight. Glenn John McEnroe has returned. Good to see you, Glenn. The pride of Wimbledon. Fast Hemi. Noble Patrick. Good to see you both here. I'm Hardcore over on X is here. I'm Hardcore will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Be gentle. This is first time signing autographs. All right, continuing on here. Walter Kochabinski, J. True Seeker. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any of that rigidness. Tom doesn't like the rigidness either. So you're good to go with that lube. Laura Lobbs, Kurt M., Cool Arrow, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with roll call here tonight. And who else is here? Let's take a look. Joanne, thank you for joining us. Major Lee, thank you for kicking off the super chat. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very, very much. Scrolling on down, and who's up next? Cosmic Joe, good to see you. Vanessa, thanks for coming on in. And Walter, thank you for that awesome super chat. Greatly appreciate the love and support, Walter. Thank you. All right. Algaray over on Twitch, 1,200 push-ups in 8 minutes to warm up for Tom's show tonight. That's right. He's jacked up for this one. Scrolling on down, Emperor Penguin, good to see you. And who's next? I'm Hardcore says, I will line up to the left of the studio for an autograph. Good for you. Good for you. All right. And Pam Harris, thank you for that lovely super chat. Hello to you tonight as well. Let's get the radio side going. I'm running late here. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Tom Whitmore is here. We're going to be hanging on out with Tom and talking some UFOs all night long. And we are in roll call on our YouTube side. First time signing autographs for I'm Hardcore. Sierra, how are you? Thanks for coming on in. Mr. Cowley, good to have you back, buddy. Rock and Rory, good to have you here. And I think we're almost caught up. Yes, we are. All right. Hi, Nina Williams. Quickly sneak her in there. All right. It's that time of the night where I like to ask everyone to throw those horns up. Let's rock. Of Central British Columbia, to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SLR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of things for you. Rock out the book, read the news wire, check out our website as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Spaced Out Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by John Charities. Don't take the world 10% happier by visiting John Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show tonight. As a real mentor in the UFO field, Tom Whitmore is here to talk about all things UFO, and it's going to be great. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for another creepy story. Then filling in for a working Tim James, Sweet Robbie G will have the UFO report in hour 3. All right. Some man that I absolutely adore. Tom Whitmore is a well-known UFO researcher who has been associated with MUFON and has contributed extensively to the study of UFOs and related phenomena. He is perhaps most famous for his research into the MJ-12 documents, a purported secret group allegedly formed in the 1940s by the U.S. government to oversee extraterrestrial matters and UFO-related investigations. Tom's work involved analyzing the authenticity of these MJ-12 documents, which were first leaked in the 1980s. While the documents have been heavily debated and largely considered by many to be a hoax, Whitmore's approach to the subject is rooted in critical analysis, focusing on both the content and the historical context in which these documents emerged. Yeah, we love Tom around here. Let's just bring him on because he's that awesome. Little Tommy Whitmore has returned wearing his patented black turtleneck sweater. Good to see you, Tom. Thank you for joining in.
Thanks, Dave. Glad to be here tonight. Looking forward to it.
Tom, you have been in the UFO world for a couple of decades now, and you've seen the major changes it has gone through, from ufology to the 2017s and what I like to call UFOlogy now. I mean, how in your time that you've been involved with this subject have you seen it change? What have you noticed?
The interest in UFOs, as you know, as everyone knows, got kicked off big time during the 1950s because of the UFO waves, and it forced the Air Force to be publicly involved, even though they didn't want to be. And they eventually got out of the UFO business publicly after closing Project Blue Book and having the scientific study of UFOs published by the Condon Committee. And that left the more serious UFO researchers to keep working on their own. And the 70s were kind of a dry period. And then in the 80s, things really did start to change because of the activities of Bill Moore and Richard Doty and some other people, Linda Howe, and some other people in the UFO field, there was some activity in trying to get documents out of the government from the NSA and from the CIA, and there was that going on. And then there was some kind of a counterintelligence, some kind of a counter activity against the UFO community during the 1980s, and corresponding with the emergence of the MJ-12 documents and things like the UFO Cover-Up Live program and all that. And then because of that, and because of Bill Moore's research into Roswell, he and Stanton Friedman and his publishing of the Roswell book, that kicked off a whole lot of research into Roswell. So in the 90s, the government felt a need to respond because one of the congressmen, Stephen Schiff, he demanded that the GAO undertake an investigation, and the Air Force felt a need to respond, and they came out with this Roswell report that Roswell was a mogul balloon, and they followed up with this Roswell Case Closed, which is an absurd publication. I don't think anybody believed that. So the 90s and the 2000s, the 2000s became a very dry period. It was almost like there was some kind of blackout in the major press, and then everything changed in 2017 with the publication of the New York Times article, concerning Louis Elizondo and Leslie Kean and the Bigelow Science Initiative and all that. And we really haven't been the same since then. And that was parallel with the onset of really a strong presence of social media, not only the internet, but we have Twitter and Twitter Spaces and all that. So there was this huge expectation of disclosure after Louis Elizondo and his group came out, and Chris Mellon and TTSA and all this, and it created this big expectation of disclosure, and that created such a tidal wave of expectation that I think that's what we're seeing still today.
Has it changed for the good or the bad, or is it a combination of both?
Well, there are some good things. For example, in the 50s and 60s, Donald Kehoe and NICAP were very adamant about trying to get congressional hearings about UFOs, and they did succeed to a point. And since then, there's been virtually nothing until the last, say, 7 years. And now we're in a position where we've had the House and the Senate looking into the subject, and we have we're at the point now where Anna Paulina Luna in the House Oversight Subcommittee is trying to look into UFOs more deeply, along with other things. So I think compared to the 70s, where the UFO community was really, really, truly in exile, and compared to today with congressional committees looking into this, we're far, far better off. Now, Twitter and the internet and social media have really increased, exponentially increased the ability of people to communicate, but it also increases the amount of trash that's out there. So I feel like a lot of people have gotten caught up in the personalities and in the conflicts between personalities, which has created a lot of unpleasantness. But at the same time, there's plenty of good information out there if you're discerning and careful and looking for reliable information and reliable people.
Tom, do you feel that with this swift change, especially on social media in the UFO world, that this has been a move forward, a step forward in the direction of any sort of confirmation or eventual disclosure. I mean, we see a lot more people talking about it, but we still have to remember this is quite a fringe subject.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And for us little old UFO people, the things that we think are so important are not necessarily important to the general population. They're things that we care about, and we think that the rest of the world cares about it when probably most of the rest of the world doesn't. So I think we have to keep that in mind. But there's an opportunity for some progress. I think that we might, in the current political environment with our new president, that we might get some more files released. I personally am not that optimistic about any really significant material level of disclosure or confirmation. And we can talk about that, and I can give you all my reasons. You have about 3 hours. Well, we got 2 hours.
Well, we got lots of time here, my friend. Do you like ufology? What it is now compared to what it was? Because for people who may not understand, prior to 2017, you had a lot of good, smart people chasing this story around. And I remember Steve Bassett always saying, if we could just get one guy, you know how he talks, one guy out from the inside to come speak to us and come public, this is going to break this story wide open. And we got that guy. We got it with Elizondo to start. And, there's been high criticism of him, but prior to 2017, Tom, it was all, people doing hardcore research, looking into, like you are with MJ12, seeking documents of just, literally going word for word, looking for any type of clue possible, whether it was Richard Dolan or Stanton Friedman or Grant Cameron or Jim Mars or any of the greats and the late greats as well. And yet the internet age came out, obviously, and we knew it was going to happen. But when the social media age came out on ufology, we saw a bunch of different people come out about this topic, newbies who really started doing even more digging, but more on the governmental side. And now we kind of see the government and the military kind of taking over this subject. And as healthy as it is, and I think it's attracted more people to the field and more voices to the field, I think pushing this subject into the government's hands has made this subject almost untouchable. It's becoming very rude. It's becoming very crass. And that's just from the government alone, who's trying to control the narrative here, Tom.
Well, they've always controlled the narrative. And my personal opinion is that there has been a long-term policy of denial and deception from the government, mostly denial. And I think it goes as high as the National Security Council. And it's a long-term, very firm policy. And, like I mentioned, you can go through, you look at the government's track record, and it's all denial. Not once have they ever come out and confirmed and said, hey, UFOs are really a true phenomenon. And any honest person will admit that they're either extraterrestrial or they're of some kind of unknown origin here on Earth. They have never been anywhere close to that. So we can desperately hope for disclosure, but I don't see, even up to recent times, with the release of the Arrow's historical report, that they're anywhere close to even confirming the reality of UFOs. And even in this latest instance with all these drones, that started coming up in November through December and January, the government, their official position is nothing to see here.
It's always like that. It's all Chief Wiggum from the Simpsons. Nothing to see here, people. Nothing to see here. In the meantime, you got a burning building in behind you. I mean, it's tough, Tom, to try and get anything out of them when they don't want to tell anything about it. But for the public who may not understand, why is it so important that this subject comes out? Why should we not be thinking of this subject on a fringe level?
Well, for a lot of people, it is fringe. And the really, rightly or wrongly, for good or ill, the baseline, the cornerstone of credibility is the government. And the government, and tied with major media and major academia and all that, or in other words, the establishment. That's the cornerstone of credibility. And until that complex, that cluster of institutions upon which most of the population bases credibility, until they come out with something, then we're going to, and we almost have to, remain a fringe subject.
If you had the magic ball in order to take this from fringe to mainstream, what would be your way of doing it? I know I'm putting you on the spot with this question, but what would be your way of trying to bring it all together for the public to understand that this is much more than just a bunch of tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists?
I think there's hope in with big data and artificial intelligence. And I think some of the brightest people in the community that are highly competent with computer knowledge, they are collecting and amassing databases of this 80 years of modern UFO history. There's a lot of information in there, and I think it's possible with the proper structure of a database and with artificial intelligence and proper analysis of that. Now, people are taking, they're taking books, they're taking cases, they're not only filing them, but they're imaging them and getting them into the system, so to speak. And at some point, I think they're going to be somebody somewhere is going to be able to tie all that together and definitively show that we're dealing with something here. And of course, to me, the logical explanation is extraterrestrial, but it's also a very, very, very strange phenomenon that manifests in so many odd and bizarre ways that we're tempted, and some of the biggest thinkers in the field, like Jacques Vallée, are tempted to think otherwise, that it's not extraterrestrial. But it's something, and something is going on. And I think any honest person that takes a good look at 80 years of all of this information would come to that conclusion.
Mhm. Is it going to be healthy for people?
No. And for people like us who are UFO people, we're used to it. For people that don't care about this, that don't think about it, we hear this term ontological shock. And I mentioned how the government is, the foundation stone of credibility, but also there's a phenomenon that I think half the American population doesn't trust the government for a number of reasons. And I think basically you have three channels of reaction to all of this. One is people like us that are used to the idea, and we can adjust to it, even if it's kind of bad or negative. And then you'll have people that are indifferent and don't trust the government, so they don't even believe it if the government came out with the information. And then the third are people that would really react negatively. They would panic. They would undergo this kind of ontological shock. The world is not what they thought it was. And I think that there would be a complex reaction. And if we somehow had true big D disclosure, I really seriously wonder how the Muslims would react. It's things like that when you have huge blocks of the world's population that are very attached to a particular way of viewing the world. Uh, it's purely speculative as to how those people how they would react to a really truly big D disclosure, which I'm wondering if we'll ever get anyway.
We have 3 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Tom Whitmore is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Tom, as we move the ball forward in regards to this topic, we see so much of it going into government hands that, example, we were made fun of when people talked about CE5 or HEIS, and yet now we are seeing Jake Barber, whistleblower, coming out talking about psionics, which is being able to summon UFOs. We've been able to see fighter pilots like Ryan Graves come out and David Fravor talking about these amazingly, impossible moves they see these objects do. Yet we have Arrow coming out and saying, well, one of the objects is only flying at about 50 miles an hour, not at Mach speed. We see so much contradiction coming out on this subject. How do we even know what the truth is anymore?
Well, in terms of the information that's in the public, we don't. I think I think either because of our own shortcomings as a community or because of outside manipulation, we don't know what to believe. And I've been thinking about this point all day, and I want to make this point that the more intensely you want to believe something, the more susceptible you are to manipulation. And I think the UFO community, and I'm just as guilty of this as anybody else because I have a gullibility factor just like everybody, and I've wanted to believe this. But we have people in the community now, particularly on social media, that are so intensely engaged in this that I would think that it would be very easy for an outside party, whether it's the Defense Intelligence Agency or the Pentagon or whomever, to manipulate the conversation and to use your expression, control the narrative.
With 1 minute to go here, is it even possible to bring this back into the public realm of everything? Because so many people are tired of feeling manipulated by this subject right now.
Well, I would like to see us get back to the basics. Okay, psionics. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying you can't summon UFOs, through some kind of, mental process. But let's get confirmation that the government has hard data on UFOs to begin with, or that the government has recovered one or more UFOs, and that the government has had bodies and maybe relationships with aliens. Let's get that first before we go off, and get way ahead of our skis and all of these kinds of things that people are getting so wrapped up about. That's the way I'd like to see things go.
Tom, we're going to get you to hold on right there because we are already through the first half hour of this show. Tom Whitmore is here tonight. The craziness of the UFO world is what we are talking about. And you know what? Nobody like Tom, a level-headed warrior of truth when it comes to the UFO subject. Don't let his black turtleneck fool you. This guy means business. Right here on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back. All right, Tom, we're clear. I want to quick say hello to Jennifer Beveridge. How are you? And let's see here. Jay Burke, how you doing? Hillbilly Herb, Nikki in Seattle. Nice to see you both. Pix, how you doing? And Frost Kitten, thanks for coming on in. Karen in the Woo Train, nice to see you. Super Crazy, good to have you here. And Nicole Sackich, nice to see you. Doesn't Tom look handsome tonight? Yes, he does. Gorgeous Kim Jellin, we will see you at UFO Con. Yes, we will. And Trucker Andrew, good to see you. Boy, a lot of you coming in here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beelzebrad has a devil put aside for me, for me, for me. Thank you for joining us. Rex of Millions, good to see you. Warden Dragon, good to have you here. And yes, we're caught up. Sorry about that, Tommy.
No problem.
Scott S., good to see you. Oh, lucky Zenzabil gets a text from gorgeous Kim Jellin. She never texts me. Never. Oh, look at Nicole here. Tom is always looking handsome.
Hi, Nicole. I say hi to my friend Catherine Jones.
Mama Catherine. Yes, of course. We love our Mama Catherine around here. Mwah, again. Oh, Chris. Boondock, how you doing? Tom, Nicole wants to know if you're wearing the khaki pants with the black shirt tonight.
I'm in my pajamas.
Sid his pajamas. Yes. Yes. Teen, how you doing? Good to see you.
I do have a pair of khaki pants, though.
I'm wearing sweatpants, Tom. Not going to lie. Are you going to come join us in Vegas May 1st to 5th?
You betcha.
Nice. I think Nicole's coming.
Saw Nicole at the Sol conference in San Francisco a couple of months ago.
All right. Let's all, yes, I agree with Kim Jellin here. Let's all remote view what is on his pajamas. I'll go first. I don't think Tom is a colorful animated guy with like ducks or beer steins or anything. I'm gonna say it's blue plaid something. Blue plaid something.
You're not a very good remote viewer, Dave.
You don't have ducks on there. I know that.
Just plain old black.
By the end of this show, we're gonna get Tom to show us the pajama bottoms.
Oh my God, I opened my big mouth.
Hillbilly Herb thinks they're blue plaid. Nicole thinks it's gray and black. JSCO says it's a killer whale. Jessica says it's spots of something.
That's correct.
Hemi says teddy bears. Zenzabil says stars. Oh, yeah. See, Kim Jellin says Santa's sleigh is my guess. What in Tarnation has shown up? How you doing, What in Tarnation? Fapster, how are you? Thank you tonight to Major Lee, Walter, and Pam for the super chats. We greatly appreciate the love and support. Christine thinks they are solid black. because you're a secret goth. And here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We love earning your listening ears all around this beautiful planet we call Earth. All right. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Okay, let's get to Tom Whitmore here. The craziness of ufology is where we are at. The government taking over the story, telling us what they are, what they aren't, what they know, what they don't know. And apparently, Tom, they say they don't know anything. Do you buy that story?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you a little story. Just in the last month, I filed a Freedom of Information Act request about a project name that I won't mention here, but I filed it with several agencies, the NSA and AFOSI and DOD and DIA, and a couple of them. I did get a response. I got a very definite response from the National Security Agency, and their answer was this: first of all, we can neither confirm nor deny the existence of such and such, which means that it exists. Okay. And the second thing they said was information on this topic is properly classified under this and that law and this and that executive order. So that tells you right there, what we're up against. I was inquiring about something that's 40 years old, more than 40 years old. And yet the government won't even admit that something exists that I'm pretty sure it does. So that's just one example.
What would happen if all of a sudden somebody actually said yes? Yes, everybody is right. We have UFOs, we have aliens, we've been storing them for years. We know what happened at Roswell. We know what happened to Elvis when he got taken up on a ship, never to come back. What would happen, Tom, if all of a sudden they just said yes?
It depends on the situation. And I think we have to remember, Dave, that politically, the government can discredit anybody, just about anybody. And if a general, like a 4-star general, came out and said something, how difficult would it be for them to, do the David Grush thing? He has PTSD. He has alcohol problems. He has mental problems. He spent time, in a counseling center. Come out with stuff like that. Now, if you get 10 4-star generals up there, that's a little bit harder. And if they hold a press conference, but people like that tend to not want to do something like that because they're patriots, quote unquote, and they've taken their commitment to the country and their commitment to maintain the country's secrecy for national security purposes. They've taken that very seriously. So there may be guys out there at a very, very high level that know something, but for their own personal reasons and because of their beliefs and commitment to the country, they're not willing to do that.
Do you think then that if they aren't willing to put their necks on the line, why do we see so many people coming out and talking about this? I'm not saying just the regular whistleblowers that we know of. I'm saying that everybody has their sources. Everybody, I mean, Tom, you've talked to people on the inside over the years. I've talked to people on the inside. They're all willing to come out and give us these little tidbits, and yet nobody's willing to speak. If there's so many of these tidbits out there and people talking about these tidbits, why are we still where we are in this subject?
National security laws. Mainly the Espionage Act of 1920 something, because these folks that have worked in various capacities, either in the military or on the civilian side, they sign off on these security agreements, and there are very strict penalties if they violate those stipulations, and they absolutely cannot disclose classified information, even if it's on the confidential level. Okay, they absolutely can't do that without risking going to jail. And now the other side of it, though, is that if somebody did go public and the Justice Department tried to prosecute them, wouldn't they be admitting that there was something to it? Or maybe they could minimize it to simply the fact that the person disclosed classified information. And sometimes the authorities won't prosecute somebody because they don't want the details of the content being made public. So they won't even prosecute. They'll just let it go. And that may be the case with some of the people that have been going around saying things that they probably shouldn't be saying. And it would create more problems than it would solve if they were prosecuted. I know of an instance where a lady, I don't know what department she was working in, but she took a document home that was merely on a confidential security level. And she took it home and brought it back. I guess she was doing work at home. And she got in trouble and got prosecuted for that. So that's how strict the government can be about these things. And I have a friend or friends that say, well, why doesn't somebody just take the bull by the horns and go public where they know this? And it's so important for the benefit of humanity and all that. But I mean, are you willing to risk your retirement and risk your family and risk going to jail and your reputation and have your life ruined? If you get prosecuted by the Justice Department, it ruins your life. You go bankrupt trying to defend yourself. And you can't blame people that have spent their whole lives building their careers. You can't blame them for not wanting to go public and risk everything.
I get that. And NDAs are like a promise to the Bible. You just do not go against those NDAs. But that being said, people who are chirping in the background have technically broken those NDAs to tip off people about what things are going on. They just have plausible deniability.
Well, I think a lot of them, I have no military background, no intelligence background. I'm just a civilian. But I think a lot of these folks, they know where the line is drawn before they get in trouble. And the line seems to be that they don't disclose sources and methods. And that's a term that you hear quite a bit out here. So if they drop a hint, well, the astronauts saw, something on the far side of the moon. Well, they're not really disclosing any details, any specific sources or methods on how that happened. And it's done in the background on the rumor level.
I got that. I get that, and I can appreciate that. But, we hear all sorts of claims that the government has aliens, the government has UFOs. We have people coming out saying they're at Area 51. We have others saying there's nothing at Area 51. Recently, we have Elon Musk getting into the fray saying, oh, no, there's no There's no UFOs at 29 Palms at Lockheed Skunk Works or anything like that. It's not there. I would know about it. Well, if it's around, where is it?
Yeah, good question. Well, just because somebody says, well, I've been in this or that program and I'm high enough level that if something was going on, I would know about it. And there's this little thing called compartmentation. And that just because there's compartmentation doesn't prove that this exists because somebody hasn't heard of it. But it does provide the possibility that you can have certain people in certain positions that have not been read into certain compartments. And in my own reading and study, I ran across an instance where a general or an officer had a subordinate. The subordinate was read into a program, but his superior wasn't. So that this person working for him knew something about something, and not necessarily UFOs, but knew something about, whatever it was he was read into that his boss didn't even know about. And that kind of thing can go on.
I can see that. But the anger in the people who've been in this subject for a long time or had an interest in this subject for a long time is we're tired of the trust me bro answers on everything. We hear the same thing. I can't tell you how I know this, but I know this, or sources say, and I can understand the frustration that people have with that. I really can. Even as a media member, Tom, I sense that frustration. I want to give up my sources and what I've told, but I can't because I can't cut off that pipeline to information, but I can understand the anger and angst that people have. And I'm sure you have it too.
Oh, yeah, I understand it. And we all feel that way. But what I find a little bit odd is with some people that have been in the field for quite a while, and they've done a lot of reading, they've done a reasonable amount of study, they may have even investigated a lot of cases. And we get into the scenario where we're at today, where all of this trust me, bro, is going on. And some people in the community have convinced themselves that certain prominent people are full of it, and that we're being led around by the nose or being manipulated or misused. And they come to that conclusion. Then they go from being a believer to turning 180 degrees and saying, this is all nonsense. This is all a bunch of crap. UFOs are, it's all nonsense. And I find that a fascinating psychological change.
It is fascinating and psychological. That is for sure. But at some point, doesn't something have to give? Because we've got 30 years of Stephen Greer, telling us disclosures right around the corner. Trust me. We have MUFON working their tails off trying to get things going, but their board of directors wants to play in the government coffers as well. We have whistleblowers coming out saying, you can trust me. I know what's going on, but I can't tell you what's going on. We have the many videos that have come out that are so grainy that even my son, who's 11 now, can film a better video than that. We have all of these little crumbs, but we don't have any pieces of food to actually, eat and try and get fulfillment from it. It's just not working that way.
Well, and a lot of folks have come into the field since 2017. 2017 was, I think, a true watershed in the UFO history, the social UFO history. And now I got active around 1990, so I've been in the field, for 30 plus years, pretty active, and learned a lot. When I was getting into the UFO field in the 1990s, we were hearing the same kinds of things that we're hearing today. Disclosures right around the corner. The government's trying to help people become acclimated to this whole idea that we're not alone in the universe, and the government's going to disclose something, and all of that. There was going to be Project Bluebeam. There was going to be this false flag. I heard that way back in the 90s. And for the people that have just come in since 2017, they may, I don't mean to sound like I'm talking down, I guess I am, but they don't have the perspective to know at this point that when they hear that disclosure is right around the corner, they don't have enough perspective to know that well, let's just kind of sit back and let things take their course, because let's not get too excited about that, because we've been there and done that before.
So if we've been there and done that before, how do we know it's not going to happen again?
It's going to keep happening as long as people intensely want to believe that the government is going to disclose, something important. And we convince ourselves of things. But the thing that I've noticed, Dave, is that since 2017, and we had TTSA that we all know about, and Blink 182 or whatever their name is, and Lou Elizondo and these folks, giving this so-called press conference, and they gave the impression that they were really seriously on a disclosure track, and they had, there were names of certain top people, at Lockheed, and generals and people they were working with, and they were going to really try to bring this forward, and it raised expectations. And I think if we look under the hood at the time, and if we know enough about the people that were involved, if we know enough about it, we know that they weren't really in a position to create the kind of disclosure that we're all wanting so much. Okay. But in raising those expectations, it's like the idea got legs, and it's become self-fulfilling, and it's taken on a life of its own. And I hear people talking on Twitter, about disclosure. Look at the government's track record. It's all denial. And there's some deception in there too.
What does that deception mean to you?
From the standpoint of the authorities in the DoD, they're running research into advanced technology, and the military runs, and the intelligence agencies run certain covert operations. And from their point of view, those things have to be protected. And we've all heard the old saw that the truth is so important it has to be protected by a bodyguard of lies. And that's where the deception comes in. And I ran into a fascinating example. One of the books I'm reading right now is about the Vietnam War, and about the Special Operations Group in the Army that was running dirty tricks against the North. And to provide a little bit of history on it, during the Cold War, the CIA tried to run agents, or they tried to drop agents into Soviet bloc countries in Eastern Europe. And they were always caught, they were always arrested, they were always, executed or whatever. And it just really didn't work very well. And when the United States got involved in the Vietnam War, the CIA tried to do the same thing in North Vietnam. They tried to drop agents into the North. They were always caught. They were always arrested, used, whatever, turned around maybe. Because these communist type countries are what can be termed counterintelligence states. The governments are so in control of their populations, they know every single little thing that's going on. Finally, they had a really bright officer, I don't remember his name, but they turned that on. They turned that whole thing on its head. So instead of running agents into North Vietnam, what they did was they made the North think that they were dropping agents. into the North Vietnam, because that's what the communist authorities wanted to believe. They're paranoid. And so the same thing applies to us in the UFO field. We want to believe certain things, and we can't see out of it well enough to know that we can easily be manipulated by third parties. I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
Isn't the manipulation of it all, so we got about 3.5 minutes to go here, Tom, isn't that manipulation part of the cover-up? Isn't that part of controlling the narrative that we have seen for so long?
I think it is. I think a lot of what went on during the 1980s, for sure, was related to that. And there were all kinds of things going on in the 80s, Star Wars and stealth and, counterintelligence against the Soviets and penetration. And, one of the things that the Air Force and other intelligence agencies have to do is they have to engage in what they call deconfliction. So if somebody sees something, is it really an unknown, or did they see a secret aircraft that we're running, and all that kind of thing. So they have interests in that area. So there are all kinds of reasons that they could be running some kind of a deception operation or operations against our population. Now, they're not supposed to do that against the domestic population, but I think with social media now, with the internet and with social media and Twitter and all this, it's so much easier if they want to deceive the public and stir up trouble and start rumors and divide people and create conflict. It's so much easier now. It's just almost almost hard to conceive, but a lot of that we do to ourselves.
2 minutes to go here, Tom, before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Tom Whitmore is our guest tonight. It's so hard to not change subjects. I want to talk whistleblowers with you here, and then what's going to happen in the future before we get to some audience questions in hour number 2. But in the end, overall, is disclosure a government necessity, or there is the debate that we don't need disclosure? People who have seen things already have it, and disclosure is individual. Where's your thoughts on that? The 90-second answer.
I think since the beginning, since the 40s and the 50s, the Air Force and the Department of Defense they felt that they have a war to fight. We had an adversary in the Soviet Union, and so they had a big job ahead of creating these bomber groups that can fly over the North Pole and creating missiles that can fly, to the Soviet Union. And we have submarines and navies that can fire missiles and all of this if we ever get into a war, if we ever get to that point. And I think that was their priority. And maybe they had some good UFO data, maybe they didn't, but I think it's a pretty safe assumption that a lot of the top guys like General Vandenberg and General Twining and these guys, that they felt their job was, to fight wars. Their job was not to, chase UFOs. And I think that's a lot of it. And that same mentality lends to the idea that we don't need no disclosure.
Well, some of us do, some of us don't, but eventually we're going to find out what the truth is on that. Tom Whitmore, we have him for one more hour here on Spaced Out Radio, the craziness of ufology. And when we return, let's get into Whistleblower. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Tom, we've got about 5.5 minutes. I'm going to put you in the back room and in the green room, and I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
Be right back, everybody. All right, I am back. We'll bring Tom back in here. Little
Hi.
Tommy Whitmore, how you doing?
Just fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I think Nicole thinks I'm a skeptic of the woo.
Has she texted you?
I don't know. She's making comments in the chat.
Sleepy Howl, how are you doing? Who else has joined in here? Big Logic, good to see you. Jessica McCreary, thanks for coming on in. Thank you tonight to Pam, Walter, and Major Lee for the super chats. Appreciate your love and support. No, I do not have a comb in my back pocket. I don't have any back pockets. All right, we got 15 seconds, Tom. Andrew, I hope to see you at Nebraska Bigfoot Conference as well. Here we go. Here we go in the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate having your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet called Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Halibiotic. Halibiotic is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, let's get back to Tom Whitmore here. He's a researcher, one of the best guys in ufology you can meet. And we're looking at the craziness of ufology these days. And Tom, I want to get into the whistleblowers with you. We have so many different whistleblowers that have come out making very large claims that, you know, there's communication with UFOs, that we have bodies, we have all the technology, we have reverse engineered craft and everything. And I really want to believe this. And I would say the majority of me actually does. But once again, we're trying to take these guys at their word. Are the whistleblowers moving ufology forward, or are they just throwing more smoke into a fire?
A lot of smoke, a whole lot of smoke. But where there's smoke, there's fire. The question is, what fire is it? What is the fire? And the crashed saucer rumors, there were tiny little trickles of it in the 60s and 70s, even after Behind the Flying Saucers in the 1950s. But in the late 70s, we started getting Leonard Stringfield's reports, Stas reports, and his presentation at the MUFON Symposium in 1978. And the rest is history. We've had rumors of recovered UFOs ever since then, but we've never gotten any direct evidence, not even so much as a photograph of a captured UFO or of bodies. It's all on the rumor level, and none of it is officially confirmed. And now, I personally am of the opinion that the government has been in possession of at least one captured UFO on bodies. That's my personal opinion. I can't prove it. But you could, if you look at it from the other way, you could make a case that this whole recovered UFO idea, it has been manufactured by counterintelligence for whatever reasons. And I think that's something that we can keep in mind, even though the rumors are persistent, and there are all kinds of people that we would think are honest that are dropping hints that it really is true, but with no confirmation and no solid no solid evidence on the public level.
Well, see, that's kind of what bugs me about it, Tom. That's what kind of bugs me about it, is that there is no solid evidence or proof. So, when these whistleblowers make these claims, and look, I want to believe, like, give you an example with Jake Barber, okay, and his talk about psionics. I believe that. I do, because not only have I talked to people who've summoned UFOs, I've done it myself. Okay. And I believe, like, when he talked about his emotions and how it felt emotional, and he started to well up and tear up when that was going on. And yet he felt fear at the same time, and amazement, and went through a whole plethora of emotions within seconds of each other. I know what that's like. I personally experienced that. And others who I trust in this community who've experienced it as well, they're good people who aren't going to BS about something like that. So I do believe a lot of what is said out there, or even Jack Sarfati, who was on this show just the other night. I mean, he comes out and says he knows, and he's talked to people on the inside about, having craft and non-biologics. We know these stories are out there, but we can't seem to pinpoint where they are. We can't seem to try and figure out where these stories are coming from, and if they are more than just stories. And this seems to be a bone of contention with all the critics out there who say, show us proof, show us the evidence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a fair complaint, and especially after all these years. And like I said, I mean, the recovered saucer meme really began to take off around 1980, with the Roswell incident book and Leonard Stringfield's reports and the MJ-12 documents and all that. And that was over 40 years ago. Okay. And we still don't have any direct confirmation or direct or hard evidence. And it's a perfectly reasonable reaction for skeptics to say, look, where's the evidence on this? Where are we going? You don't have any evidence, you don't have any proof, you don't have any confirmation. And I can understand that. My problem is I'm a believer, and it's going to take a lot to dislodge me from the idea that we have something going on here. And after all the 80 years of sightings and reports and odd things happening and abduction reports and landings and close encounters, and then rumors about, recovered UFOs and bodies, after all these years of all that, I find it difficult to let that go and just say, hey, I'm just going to drop all this. And after a number of years of not making any progress and not getting any confirmation, I can understand why some people just want to walk away, because this is a very, very difficult and frustrating field, Dave. I think it requires patience, and it requires a tolerance for ambiguity. And I think all of the questions that you've posed tonight deal directly with the issue of ambiguity in the UFO field. It's something that we've lived with, and that we have to live with, and I think we'll continue to live with.
All this talk from people about, 2025 is going to be the year, 2027 is going to be the year, the aliens are coming in 2035. I mean, we hear all of these different numbers out there. At some point, is this just conjecture to keep the story going, or is there a hint of truth to this?
I personally think it's nonsense, and you may notice that the dates keep being moved back. And if there's one thing I've learned in life, it's dangerous to make predictions. And if someone comes out and says, oh, there's going to be something big happening in 2027, or the aliens are going to show up in 2035, I don't pay attention to it. And um, there's a very good book out that some of the people in the field have read, but it's called When Prophecy Fails. And the point of the book is that a group of people convinced themselves that, the apocalypse was going to occur on a certain date. And then when it didn't happen, they doubled down and still insisted that it was going to happen. And they moved the date forward or whatever. And this is, I think, all related to the will to believe, the intense desire to believe something. And it takes on a life of its own. It gets legs, and it just keeps going. I think this date it will still be there, and they'll keep moving it back.
That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. I think that they will keep moving that date back as well. But when we look at the governmental side of everything, okay, now we look at, not only all the congressional hearings that we've had, but, now there is this group that is out there within Washington, D.C., who wants to bring out the Epstein files. They want to bring out JFK. They want to bring out the UAP files. And I don't know if that'll actually happen. I'm tired of listening. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm tired of hearing these politicians act tough talking about transparency, yet we never seem to get it.
Well, again, look at history. Look at the government's track record. Has the government ever disclosed anything that was embarrassing to it? Now, some things happened, like there was an attempt, there was a program to rescue the hostages in Iran, that failed. And, President Carter was a pretty honest man, and he decided to make that public. There was a lot of concern during the Nixon years about the CIA being a rogue elephant. And there was some disclosure about what the CIA had been doing. But it was political. It was one party really basically going after the other political party, the politics of personal destruction. But these, the powers that be and the elites, the top people in our world, the people that run the government and that run the world, are we ever going to get anything that really truly discloses something embarrassing, that's something that is really just earth-shattering if we knew the truth? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. Now, I hope I'm made a fool out of, and that I'm completely wrong. And next week we get some real information. But I'm skeptical. I doubt it, because the government, it's such an important function of government to control the narrative, that phrase that you like to use, to control the information, because they can't let the population get out of hand. They can't lose control. So they find a way to suppress it or to discredit it.
Suppression is a very decent thing to do if you're trying to cover something up. But what do you think of Tim Burchett or Anna Paulina Luna or Nancy Mace going after this subject? Is it good? Is it a waste of taxpayers' money?
I think it's wonderful. More power to them. I hope they're successful. And maybe there's a certain amount of political posturing in it and political gamesmanship. But I mean, what do we want here? I mean, why should we, or would we complain that some people in Congress are willing to pursue this, even though some of it may be superficially political? I mean, I think it's fabulous. Like I said, look at the shape we were in the 2000s. There was virtually a blackout about the whole subject. And now, even though the New York Times and the other elite publications aren't covering it, but at least some of the people in Congress are trying to do something. And now I don't know how successful they're going to be, because the Congress, the legislature, is a separate branch of government from the executive, and the executive can basically tell them to go take a hike. And the the Congress, the legislature, they can't go over and arrest the executive people and say, you're not getting us what we want, you're under arrest, and we're going to prosecute you and put you in jail. Because that whole function itself is on the executive side in the Justice Department. So unless somebody lies or gets caught in something, doing something wrong that's illegal, I don't know if the Congress people have much recourse. Now there's a so-called Gang of Eight, the leaders in the Congress and the top people in the Intelligence and Armed Services committees. They might be able to get a little bit more information if they demand it on some of these secret programs, but they have to keep it secret too, or they wouldn't be allowed to be read in. So I think some of it is political posturing. Some of it may be a waste of time and fruitless, but at least they're trying.
Do you think they're as in the dark as what we think they are, or that they lead us to believe?
I think they know more than they're letting on. I'm almost sure that they do. Because they have, Anna, Paulina, Luna, and these folks, they have staffers. And a lot of these staffers are very bright, and they're excellent investigators, and they're digging. They've got people coming to them, bringing them information, and they have to be discreet and careful, just like you've mentioned about being careful about your whatever confidential sources you have. They have to be careful too, and I'm almost positive they know more than they're letting on.
All right, let's get to some audience questions here because they are building up for you, Tom. Let's start with Caged on the Inside, who is asking, I am tired of hearing we do not need disclosure. People are telling you. I think it is the way that our government can get away with all of their past crimes against people. What's your thoughts, Tom?
Well, all governments have state secrets, and most governments commit crimes. And there's no reason for a government to admit to their crimes unless they're absolutely forced to. For example, and even then they won't admit it. For example, in World War II, the Germans were defeated, and a lot of the top Nazis and Germans were put on trial. Some of them were hung, but some of them never admitted or would confess to having ever committed any crimes. They didn't personally believe that they committed those crimes, or they wouldn't admit to it in public. So I think that's just human nature, and it's the way that governments work.
All right, let's move on to another question here, Tom. Let's go to the Doug Shelby. For someone very familiar with Southeast Missouri, how come so little and so wrong? Or I'm not sure I understand this question. How come so little and so wrong with Cape Girardeau in 41?
The person to talk to about that is Ryan Wood. Ryan Wood and his father, Bob Wood, who passed away. He was well in his 90s. He passed away in the last year. But Ryan Wood is the person to talk to about Cape Girardeau. And there is some information about Cape Girardeau in the UFO literature, and I suggest that Doug get with Ryan Wood. And Ryan Wood is easily accessible on the internet.
Let's go to Tim. Can you elaborate on your research on the MJ-12 documents? What's new? We got 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm trying to write a book. I'm researching and writing a book that is going to be about the history of the MJ-12 controversy, and then secondly, perspectives on MJ-12. So I'm writing chapters for the first part, kind of on a chronological basis of the development of the MJ-12 controversy in the 80s, and then it went on in the 90s and the 2000s. It's gone actually all the way up to this year because of this so-called whistleblower person that's in jail that apparently was recruited by AFOSI when he was a teenager to be groomed to go into intelligence, and he ended up getting in trouble. But he was shown a lot of stuff on the way, and whether it was true or not, I don't know. So there's a history of the controversy of the original documents that came out in the 80s, and the UFO cover-up live program in the 80s, Bill Moore's disclosure in 1989, and Bill Moore's book, The MJ-12 Documents and Analytical Report. Then we had the Timothy Cooper documents in the 1990s. We had Exempt from Disclosure by Robert Collins. And we had what I call the ultra top secret document that came out a few years ago. And then we have this latest development with this fellow that's come out this year. That's kind of a short history of the things that have come out into the public. Now, the other side of it is different ways to look at MJ-12, and there are a lot of things that I find interesting that are somewhat peripheral to the subject, but things like psychological warfare and deception, and maybe decoys, radar spoofing, counterintelligence, and so on and so forth, that I'm going to be writing chapters on about those subjects. So there's been plenty of work done in examining the original set of the MJ-12 documents. Now, with the Timothy Cooper set, there are so many of them, and I think the more conservative UFO researchers have just turned away from them because they think they're phony, and perhaps they are. But I don't think that a great deal of forensic work has been done on the Timothy Cooper documents, and that is an opportunity for further research.
2 minutes to go, Tom. Let me just ask you about MJ-12 here. For you, who is continuously researching this, are there any more Easter eggs that you've learned about this subject?
Yeah, Jacques Vallée mentioned a couple of things in his Forbidden Science #5 that are related to certain people in the Defense Intelligence Agency. And as far as MJ-12 goes, there are two questions that I want answered as a researcher. And one is, who created the MJ-12 documents and why? And then there are a couple of subsidiary questions like, well, did MJ-12 ever exist or not? And if it did it have anything to do with UFOs, or did it have nothing to do with UFOs? Those are questions that I would like to get answered. Now, I have enough information that I believe answers the question as to who created the MJ-12 documents. My problem is I'm unable to confirm it because the people that were involved at the time are deceased. So those are some nuggets that I can mention about that. And I don't want to give away too much because this is all going to be in the book that I'm going to be writing.
I look forward to that. What's the funnest part about investigating MJ-12, Tom?
I think in doing research, Dave, one thing leads to another. And sometimes you run across information that you didn't anticipate. And it's coming across that some little bit of information that you didn't expect to find. And this happened to me just a couple of days ago. There was a mention in one of the cause newsletters from the 1980s when Barry Greenwood was first taking a look at the MJ-12 situation. And he cited an instance where there was a meeting in Colorado where...
Tom. Hold that thought. We'll come back to it on Spaced Out
Radio. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Sorry about that, Tom. That was my bad.
Oh, no problem. But I do want to tell that story.
Hi, Earth Goat Trees. How are you? Well, the MJ12 questions are coming out of the woodwork now, man. See what you started, Tim Mothman, in your goatee? See what you started?
I can talk about MJ12 all night.
I know you can. I love the subject. I do. Ian McFadden says, I just watched 1984 again. He says, it seems more fitting now in Russia if you believe all the propaganda. Let me tell you, I am afraid to rewatch 1984 or Animal Farm. I'm totally afraid to, because I know we're going to be very disappointed with what has gone on and what will transpire, where we're heading. It's ridiculous, man.
It's frightening, really.
It is.
How close we are to that. He was very prescient, and I think he really detected some trends there on both sides. Both sides propagandizing their populations.
Mm-hmm.
And there's virtually no privacy anymore, because we hope that if we haven't done anything wrong, that we have nothing to fear. But if you do something wrong and the government is on your case, they're going to find out whatever they need to know. There's just no way that you can hide your life, because we just leave too many fingerprints on everything that we do.
Very true. Very true. I had to read those books in high school too, Christine. Yeah. And it's just freaky. It's freaky. It reminds me of the Van Halen song. If you ever remember the Van Halen video for their song Right Now, and one of the quotes on there, right now, your government is doing what they say only other governments do, or something like that. It was crazy.
So true.
Just under 2 minutes, Tom.
Okay. I think it's not about right and wrong. It's about power.
Oh, yeah. About 1:30.
It's 80 degrees down here, Dave.
What's that?
The weather down here, it's 80 degrees.
I'm sitting at a balmy 28 degrees Fahrenheit.
No whoopee. Any snow?
It's all melting quickly. Hi, Alex Sanchez. How you doing? Thank you tonight to Pam, Walter, and Major Lee for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love. Kira, it's warm out. I barely need a jacket outside right now. Remember UFOCon 2025, April 4th through 6th in San Francisco. If you're one of our listeners, I want to see you there. Head to UFOCon2025.com. Get your tickets. Definitely want to see you there. Good speakers there, too. Check out their lineup. I'll be emceeing. Here we go. Second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet called Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with our good friend Tom Whitmore. We have until the top of the hour, and we're going to continue on with some questions from our audience. And Tom, you fired up? You ready?
Yes, sir. Ready to go.
Let's go to picks here. I have a working theory. MJ-12 might have been effectively retired, put to sleep with tech mostly absorbed by the MIC as RQD and COG systems built in tandem with control mechanisms still extant. Now, somewhere in there, there's English.
Okay. Well, John Alexander, well-known person in the UFO field, is of the opinion that MJ-12 was all about continuity of government. And on my blog, tomwhitmoreblog.wordpress.com, I have a research paper about continuity of government. And I've briefly discussed it with John Alexander, in the parking lot a couple of times. But when you look at the original set of MJ-12 documents, the Eisenhower briefing, and you look at the MJ-12 list, if I was setting up a continuity of government group, that wouldn't be it. The names just don't make any sense to me as far as being with continuity of government. And of course, I could be wrong, but that's my point of view on that question.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, let's go to another one. Let's go to Kim. How do you think, Tom, the road to disclosure ends?
It doesn't end. It goes on and on and on and on. I'll be 95 years old and we still don't have disclosure. Sorry.
You don't believe in disclosure?
No, I desperately want disclosure, but I don't believe it's going to happen. I'm skeptical. I'm pessimistic that it's going to happen.
What leads that pessimism?
Well, like I said earlier, we've been wanting disclosure, really since the 60s and 70s. Donald Kehoe, went to a lot of trouble to try to get the government to admit that UFOs were a real phenomenon. And, there was this sentiment that the government was gradually acclimating the population to the idea that we're not alone in the universe and that at some point we were going to be told the truth. So that hasn't happened. And I've been around this long enough, even though not nearly as long as some people have been in the field, but I've been around it long enough and I've heard all this before. And I look at the government's track record and I just can't be optimistic about it. That doesn't mean that I don't want it. I want it just as much or more than anybody.
I want it too. I just don't like the process it's happening with. I wish there was a little bit more honesty to it, a little bit more humanity to it.
Yeah.
JSCO is asking, isn't they are real disclosure?
Just because one person said something once and you'd have to go digging around to try to find that quote, that to me is not disclosure. Disclosure is the Department of Defense holding a news conference with photographs, and credible people, the Secretary of Defense or the Assistant Secretary of Defense, and a couple of 4-star generals putting the information out there. That's disclosure. I'll give you an example of what disclosure is. The stealth aircraft were developed under great secrecy, but it came to a point to where Northrop rolled out the B-2 bomber. And it was a big ceremony. It was in front of the hangar, and they had all kinds of people there, and a big ceremony, and the plane was right there. That is disclosure. It's unambiguous. But just because somebody in the government said one little thing, 7 years ago, that's not, in my mind, that's not disclosure.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Like I said, and I've said many a time before, I don't believe in disclosure. I want it. I'd love to see it happen, but my terminology of disclosure is much different than what everybody else's is. And I believe we're at a confirmation of the phenomena movement.
Well, it's like Mr. Bigelow said. He said, what we need is confirmation. And I think that would get the ball rolling. But we've had this discussion so many times, Dave, but once you let the cat out of the bag, it's not going to go back in. You can't unring the bell. The horse gets out of the barn, it's not going back. And it's a big step. Big step.
Very true. All right, let's move on to super crazy. Do you think there is a connection between Bigfoot and UFOs? I know that's right up your alley, Tom.
I honestly don't know. And I did want to mention this, Dave, because I read a very interesting article in a wonderful paper called the County Highway. And it's about a nature lover who really goes into the backwoods, like in British Columbia or some places, to get photographs of badgers. And they really go out in this really extremely remote area, and they set up cameras and they set up bait, hoping that the badgers will show up, and they won't be there when it happens, but the cameras are there waiting for them. And I wonder if anybody has ever done that with Bigfoot, like set up a bait and cameras and things hoping that a Bigfoot would show up, because enough people have studied the Bigfoot problem long enough that they should know the kinds of things that Bigfoot likes, like what they like to eat and things that they're attracted to. What do you think of that, Dave?
I think that they might not be from here. And therefore, maybe it's the ships picking them up because they've let their pets free range. I don't know. I think Bigfoot is something unique. I don't want to say it's interdimensional. I don't want to say it's alien. I don't know what the hell it is. I don't believe it's flesh and blood, or it may be flesh and blood, but has different unique characteristics that, make it be able to be almost indestructible, or to walk around in dimensional planes. It's weird.
As for that question, do I think there's a connection between Bigfoot and UFOs? My answer is, I don't know.
Perfect answer. Let's go to Paramarv. Can you address the validity of the MJ-12 documents that John Lear was sharing in the late 1980s? They made quite a stir for years.
John Lear was piggybacking on what other people had been doing, mainly Bill Moore. Bill Moore was in possession of the original set of MJ-12 documents, and he had collected several of those, the Aquarius Telex and the so-called Carter briefing document, and then the Eisenhower briefing and the Truman Forrestal memo and the Cutler Twining memorandum. And those were all real documents that came into the possession of these UFO researchers. Now, a lot of rumors and a lot of talk was swirling around in the UFO community during the 1980s because of the activities of Richard Doty and Bill Moore and some other people. And John Lear started talking to them and talked to some other people that he thought were credible. And he came away with this whole scenario that the government had UFOs and bodies and had relationships with aliens, and aliens were eating us and all of this kind of stuff. And he was associated with Bill Cooper. And from my point of view, Bill Cooper is not a credible individual. And John Lear caught him in a lie. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that John Lear is not the source, the original source of information about the MJ-12 documents. Bill Moore is that person.
All right, let's continue on, Tom. Let's go to our next question from, let's see here. It is from Sierra. If the UFO knowledge gatekeepers know about the truth of UFOs, and if this knowledge is supposed to help people evolve, then why are the gatekeepers so unevolved and hoarding info and technology?
Well, I think a lot of assumptions are made. And one of the biggest assumption that I keep hearing is that if the world population could just get its hands on UFO technology, it would solve our energy problems. And we'd have unlimited energy, and it would, help mankind advance. And there are all these assumptions about all of this that we really have no confirmation of whatsoever. Let's say that the military and the intelligence agencies have been in possession of one or more of these craft, and they've pawned it off to a private company like Lockheed. We don't even know if they've gotten anywhere in understanding the technology. We don't know if they understand how the technology works, or if they can duplicate it or manufacture it. So, are they hoarding the information? Well, if they have it, they're definitely hoarding it. But it doesn't necessarily follow that what they have, it enables humankind to progress, because they may not even understand how it works.
All right, let's go to Super Crazy. Do you think President Eisenhower met with aliens, and is there a galactic federation?
All I know is that there are stories and rumors to that effect, and I don't know if he did or not. And I don't think there's anything in the Eisenhower library that is evidence or that provides proof for it. A galactic federation, to me, sounds a little bit too much like Star Trek or any of these science fiction programs. But if these alien groups have the ability to travel on an interstellar basis, just like we have groups and treaties between countries here, if you have all these alien groups, and there seem to be a number of them, if they're real, it might make sense that that they're organized to a certain extent. But that's just pure speculation. It's just imagination. It's the public imagination.
Tom, that is the one story I want to be so true, is Eisenhower meeting with aliens. I want that one so bad, my man. It would just captivate me forever. And I wish more researchers would look heavily into that rather than just dismissing it as legend and fake lore. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Dave. If I was president, I would demand, if it was there, I would demand it. I would demand to see it. And I would not take no for an answer. And Eisenhower was strong enough personality. If that was the situation, it wouldn't surprise me that he got his way.
Well, he was a badass back in the day. Total badass back in the day.
Yeah,
And
it would have
man,
been very hard to tell him no,
yeah.
I think.
Well, wasn't he the president who threatened to go into Area 51 if they didn't let him in because he was originally denied?
Well, that's a claim made by one person, kind of a deathbed confession type thing, and some of the skeptics have discredited, that claim, but that's a claim that one person made.
See, that's another one I'd like to know.
We all would. And you take a man like Eisenhower, a powerful person and a powerful personality, and knew how to manage people, and knew how the levers of power, and knew how the government worked. If he wanted that information, and these characters and the bureaucracies tried to stonewall him, I could very easily see him, threatening something like that. If that were the case, I believe that he could.
All right, let's go over to Wiruna. How will the rollout of AI and quantum computing influence the UFO cover-up and disclosure?
Yeah, and I mentioned that earlier in the program tonight, but more and more UFO data is getting scanned into databases, and if all the data that is out there, even without getting the government involved, but all the data on the civilian side, if it could somehow be scanned into a database, all of it, and then apply AI, to that, I think that could help us tremendously to make the case of the reality of the UFO situation.
Let's go over to Super Crazy. Do you think humans have already visited Mars in secret?
They'd have to have technology that's beyond what our regular rocket technology is, and I commend Elon Musk for wanting to go to Mars, but with our current rocket propellants, it seems to me it's just impractical, because it would take months to get there. And what are you going to do? I mean, it would take a Herculean effort to get so much as a trailer-sized building there on Mars that people could live in. You want to sit in a building, sit in a trailer, and then if you go outside, there's very little air to breathe, and it's God knows what temperature. It's just, the whole thing is impractical. So I think if we have been to Mars, it would have to be in some kind of secret technology that's way beyond anything that we see in the public.
All right, Tom. Ian is wondering, good morning, Ian in the UK. To your knowledge, has any other countries disclosed?
I don't think so. There's this group that we call the Five Eyes: US and Canada and Australia and New Zealand and Britain, and they're all working together. And the US calls the shots. And if we have the goods, so to speak, and the policy is to not disclose, none of the other Five Eyes would do that. But if other countries like China or Russia have something, if they really truly have something and haven't disclosed it, I can't answer as to why they haven't. I mean, that's an open question.
Dorina wants to know, do you think all aliens do not have an organizational abilities whatsoever? This is to your fact that you don't know if there's a galactic federation or not.
Well, that's assuming that there are all of these aliens, which I believe there are. But the phenomenon is so complex, and it has so many characteristics that are bizarre and odd. When we talk about aliens organizing, in a federation like humans do, I think we're trying to impart human qualities and human characteristics on aliens that we really know nothing about. We don't know how they think, how they act. So, I just think that we'd be projecting our own human-like characteristics onto them.
Paramarv is asking, is there a definitive list of who's in the aviary? Do the members rotate in and out? Is it still active?
Okay, there's a definite list of the so-called Avery from the 1980s. And I've heard about, groups of interested people that have been connected to them, as many as 40, 50, 60 people in email groups. So there has been an aviary, even though it's not like an organization. The bird names are just names that were assigned by Bill Moore and Jamie Chandray, so that when they talked on the phone, they thought they were concealing the identity of these people that were contacts for them. But into the 80s and 90s, there have been groups of, 40, 50 people, I guess, that trust each other enough that are sharing information.
All right. I think we got time for two more here. Xanos wants to know, who are the 12 in MJ12?
Okay, now you're putting me on the spot. I'll try to, let me see if I can recite them. We've got Admiral Hillenketter, Rear Admiral Hillenketter, Vannevar Bush, and gosh, it's late at night, Dave. I could, Berkner and Hunsaker and I'm sorry, I just can't name them off by memory.
That's all right. Probably the most important question of the night. Our radio audience won't know this because it was discussed during the break. But Tom is wearing pajama bottoms during this interview, and people want to know, what were the pajamas after all? Did anybody get them right trying to remote view Tom's pajamas? What are the pajama bottoms, Tom? We need to know.
They're black.
That's it? They're just black?
Yeah, they're just black. Nothing exciting.
No plaid, no UFOs, no Bigfoot, no roller coasters, no beer bottles, nothing?
Sorry, just black.
Oh, man. Christine said black. So we did have somebody correctly remote view the pajama bottoms you were wearing for the show. We appreciate that. Tom, tell everybody where they can find your research into MJ12 and what you're working on.
Let me name off the 12 because I'm embarrassed. Lloyd Berkner, Detlef Bronk, Vannevar Bush, James Forrestal, Gordon Gray, Roscoe Hillenketter, Jerome Hunsaker, Donald Menzel, Robert Montague, Sidney Sowers, Nathan Twining, and Hoyt Vandenberg. And my blog is tomwhitmoreblog.wordpress.com. That's tomwhitmoreblog.wordpress.com.
Tom Whitmore, it is always a pleasure to have you here on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for not only being a friend, but a great guest on this show, packed with information. You're one of the best, bud.
Thanks, Dave. It's great being on the show tonight.
Tom Whitmore, everybody. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller. Then, Sweet Robbie G will join us for the UFO Report. We will be right back, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, Tom, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can't wait to see you in May, buddy.
Okay.
We'll
You're doing Vegas this year?
Yeah. We're at the Orleans. It's
Okay.
not a fan party. It's just a gathering of people who want to hang out. We'd love to have you there.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. We'll see you soon, okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Take care.
Good night.
Whitmore, everybody. Love him. Love him. He's like a dad to me in this field. He's so awesome. Love him. I'll be right back, everybody. Hey, whoop-whoop. All right. I am back. Sweets is here. Hello, sweet Robbie G. Psychic medium Rebecca K. How are you? Good to see you here. Thanks for coming in late. And who else do we have? Little Tommy Whitmore right there. Thank you all for watching. We love Tom around here. I think we're caught up. Oh, UFO Not. How are you, my friend? Now I know we're caught up. I knew I was missing one more. Thank you tonight to Pam, Walter, and Major Lee for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you take it right to the limits and go get some of your swag today. You'll love it. I promise you. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Halabiotic. Halabiotic is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
In January of this year, I went out to my friend's house to stay the night during the New Year's break. It was a clear day and a clear night, so we walked down the train tracks. He has huge property in the middle of two small towns in central Pennsylvania. We walked through the woods down to the train tracks and watched as the trains went by. One eventually stopped in front of us for what we assumed to be a crew switch. We got on the train, and we were goofing off when we heard high squeals off to our left. I should mention that there are 3 tracks. We were on the outer one, farthest away from where we walked down from his house. The train stretched pretty far both ways, and we decided to stay on the train a little bit longer to wait out what we thought was a fox or a wolf. The thing is, I heard that noise before when I was young. I don't remember how much, but I know nothing good comes of it. I informed him of the Skinwalker legend, but I didn't know everything about them. Well, after 2 minutes of hearing this noise continuing, a second train goes by. At this point, it's about 1 a.m. at night, and it was a rush to be on the stopped train and witness a second one go by. Well, after that one was gone, the noises we heard were now on the other side of the tracks. We both stared coldly in the direction before saying it definitely wasn't a wolf or a fox. We waited 20 minutes and finally the noises stopped. It was still clear, and there wasn't any snow on the ground, so we decided to head back to the house while we could. On the walk back up the mountain, we heard the noise once again. Way ahead of us, though. I looked up and saw something move, so I shined my light up at it. It was just an owl. We continued, and it just started snowing. It was out of nowhere when this smell of pure, putrid air hit our noses. We moved quickly out of the woods and walked into a cornfield. His house was located on the other side of this cornfield. He was picking on me for being a little scared, but the only thing I knew at the time was that this smell was terrifying, and I had read about skinwalkers and their smell, so I was even more scared. We looked into it, and apparently, owls and snow are a sign of evil. We laughed and texted our friends before deciding to settle down for the night. My friend walked into his room while I slipped into the downstairs living room, both on the same floor. 3 minutes of being alone, his motion light downstairs turns on, then off and then on again. Suddenly, there was a rapid tapping on the window. The light comes on and it stops. Then it's off and then there's more tapping again. This happened one more time before I yelled out, "Stop messing with me and go to bed." He walks out of the hall in his boxers telling me to shut up and calling me a pussy. I told him about what just happened, and he went cold and said, "Fine, I'll sleep out here since you're so scared." I knew low-key he was scared too. I don't believe in skinwalkers, but coming from Georgia and then moving to Pennsylvania, I've heard stories, and I remain cautious. But that night really changed me, even changed my friend. We haven't really been back to the train tracks since, but I hope you enjoyed my story.
Oh, we appreciate the Swampy there for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to Swamp Dweller's channel on YouTube. Just type in Swamp Dweller. And what you can do there, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Yeah, he's got thousands of stories just like that waiting for you to listen to, all for free. Let's go to the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, sweet Robbie G filling in for a working Tim James tonight. Yeah, when you're in management like Tim James is, you can't just skip work when the higher ups tell you that we need those reports done by the end of midnight. So that's what he's doing.
Yes,
How you doing?
yes. You know, I'm doing really good. Feeling really good.
Man of many words, sweet Robbie G right there from the After Hours show on our weekend programming. And you had a great weekend of guests, man. Great job this weekend.
You know, I appreciate that. We get to step outside the box occasionally and do things outside of UFOs, and it really felt good to kind of delve into that. So, yeah, I felt it was a pretty awesome weekend too. Appreciate you.
Oh, no problem, my man. No problem. So, UFO world's pretty quiet right now, my friend. Pretty quiet. Where'd
Yes.
everybody go?
Thank you. I'm looking around. I'm trying to find things to do in the field, and there's nothing. There's nothing.
What do you think is causing this? Like, are we in the eye of the storm right now? Or are we, just bored as hell because the whistleblowers have come out? I mean, we went back to back whistleblowers with Randy Anderson and then Jake Barber, and then nothing. Just poof. It's like all of a sudden, we went from a blazing campfire down to smoldering wood that quickly.
I almost feel like I cursed it because I said that at the end of the year, and then I was like, okay, we're starting off real hot. We have all the drone situation going on. We have the whistleblowers back to back. I said the year has started off so great that we could go the rest of the year without anything, and it would still be an epic year. And I think by saying that, I've actually cursed the situation. But really, hopefully, I'm just really hoping that we just get something out of the blue. And I think that might happen. I don't know what it is. I can't really tell, but I anticipate that we'll get something. Richard Dolan just released a USO book. So I know he'll be doing the rounds for that. So that's kind of something to converse about. But I don't know, man. Maybe hopefully we'll get another big whistleblower this year.
I don't know if we will, man. I really don't know if we will. I mean, I would like to. I would hope to. There's a slate of them apparently ready to come out, but I don't know if we're going to get that many more. What more can they bring? I mean, the people are getting restless, Rob. You talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. And it just seems that the UFO world is getting restless with the whistleblowers.
I can see that. I can see that. The thing that gives me some sort of hope is that the way this last whistleblower came out, Jake Barber, we had the egg video. So we had the egg video, but we understood, because Ross Coulthard let us know during the interview, that wasn't his recording. So the recording belongs to someone. And I'm hoping that person is the one that comes out next, because that, I think, could be the bombshell of the year, because the person that has the direct link to that video obviously has the direct link to the contractor where that object would have been taken. So I think there's still a story yet to be told this year.
What do you think that story is?
Well, I mean, you're looking at potentially a person that is right there, right? They could tell you the name of a contractor, where the object is being held at, and likely other objects as well. I mean, it's literally the only thing better than that is the person that received the object inside of the contractor. I mean, once we have that, once we have a name of a contractor where these things are being held, then we can literally post up outside of these facilities with our own cameras and try to monitor what's going on. Just us, like me. I would go. If they said what contractor it was, I'd get in my car, because I know it's probably somewhere in the area that I can get to. And I would go sit out there and try to, gather some intel or some data. But I think it's closer than we will ever get, waiting for these transparency agencies to give us information. We're literally right there. And for me, that means Ross Coulthard knows already who that contractor is and where that contractor is located. So the information is out there. The mysterious person who released the video is out there. And what do we have? What is this? This is only March. So we have 9 months left in this year. And I just feel like within that time frame, we'll hear more about who that person is.
Are whistleblowers, in your opinion, still effective?
That's a great question, because I actually did a video recently on whistleblowers, and just, I just voiced my frustration. I think I'm getting sort of fed up with the whistleblowers, because I'm seeing it also. I'm understanding more of what the skeptics are saying when they say, "Oh, trust me, bro," and I said this. I said, okay, for skeptics to say that 100% of whistleblowers are lying, I don't think is being, fair or being truthful to the situation. But then I said also on our end, I don't think we can lean on 100% of the whistleblowers as being authentic. That there's got to be a portion of less than 100%, which means that a portion of the whistleblowers that we've been subjected to probably aren't all telling the truth. And my frustration is that, and the question that I had was, are with these NDAs, they always bring that up. So I can't say anymore because of NDAs. And so my question was, are some of these whistleblowers hiding behind the NDA? Which means you have whistleblowers that'll step up knowing that they maybe have delved around in certain departments that could be close to where some of the action is at, but maybe they weren't actually there, right? And so they get to hide behind the anonymity of an NDA. So it's almost like, well, they won't allow me to say anything, and because I can't push it any further than that, then I can kind of hide behind that. And so that's where my frustration is starting to grow with whistleblowers. But I think you can kind of sift out who's being genuine and who's not, because yes, there's a gray area, but the whistleblower who signed the NDA knows how close to that line they can get. And I think if you look around at whistleblowers that have come out lately, you can tell the ones that have taken it right up to the line versus ones that still kind of are playing in that gray area. So I'm kind of frustrated with the whistleblower situation, and that's kind of how I'm grading them going forward. How close to the line are you getting when you're coming out with this information? does it seem like you are hiding in that gray area? Because there's been some recently, and I didn't call any names and I still won't, but it seems like there's some that are kind of hiding in that gray area. And I think they are hiding behind the NDA because they may not fully, be telling us the truth.
I don't want to say that the skeptics are winning in regards to the whistleblowers. Okay, and we could debate that subject all night, but I will say this. I think that the whistleblowers need to come up with more. If we're getting all these people standing up saying, yes, there's something there. Doesn't matter whether it's Grush or Barber or Elizondo or Anderson or Jason Sands or whoever it may be. I like it when they come out. I like hearing their stories because I'm a guy who wants to believe their stories. But it's kind of like anything, Rob. The more people you trot out, eventually people are going to get bored of that. They're going to say, well, this is the new angle. And the skeptics and the non-believers are going to have a heyday with it because they're not bringing anything to the table. Now, rational thinking says with these whistleblowers, they can't bring out a video. They can't bring out photographs. They can't tell you due to their NDAs where incidents happen. I don't know about you, but I sure as hell am not going to jail for ufology. I'm sure you're pretty much the same way as well. And I'm curious for your sake and mine, do you think then that we're, at the precipice of seeing maybe an end to whistleblowers, considering that they're not having as much effect as we thought they would?
Well, to go back a little bit, I would go to jail for breaking an NDA. I personally would. And it is not because I would be doing it for ufology. It would be because I had taken my family into consideration in the future of my grandchildren, my descendants that would be taking on this world after we're gone. But that's a slippery slope and a fine line for someone who's on the inside, because obviously there's all these repercussions that they have to go up against. And yes, it could end up with jail time, blackballing. I did a show about this, and there's a whole list of things that they would be subjected to that are negative. But the question would be, in the face of disclosure, where things could literally change, if you had the game-changing information, would an NDA in that moment be held up or enforced by the government? And here's the thing with that. I'm still saying no, don't release government secrets. No, not at all. I'm not saying break an NDA and release government secrets. Never. What I'm saying is that extraterrestrials, the fact that we have the craft, the fact that they're here, and potentially even where they're being held, I don't know if I would feel bad about releasing that information. Now, anything past that, I probably wouldn't want to do. But I think you'll have someone that hopefully, because once again, the government is made up of human beings, even though they operate like a machine, like a unit, they're individual human beings that have families, that may not go into politics, that may not go into working for the government. And so with that in mind, if they have a human moment where they're like, yeah, do I side with the government that has been obfuscating and holding secrets back from humanity, and because that includes family and descendants, or do I side with the government? I think there's going to be a moment of that where someone says, okay, I'm going to be the one to do this. I understand what the implications might be, but I'm going to do this. And I'm just hoping one of those people step forward, because I think that'll be the thing that kind of busts this thing wide open. And then you have to see, would the government be willing in that moment, now that the world knows all the secrets, would they be willing to come right behind that person and enforce an NDA and put them in prison? I don't feel that they would. I just don't feel that they would. There'd be too much heat on them based on the moment and the information that was being released, that I just don't feel that things would be organized enough for them to focus on that person and enforce an NDA. I just feel like that. I don't know. But I'm hoping someone who considers whistleblowing considers that, has a
But
human
even,
moment.
but even if it's not whistleblowing, let's say you had NDAs, Rob, and you smuggled a video out of the Pentagon. That's still theft of government property. I mean, you're never mind the NDA, you're still in trouble by releasing those videos or photographs.
Videos or a video of a video, because we know in a lot of cases they smuggle out videos that they've taken from their iPhones of videos. Now, I can agree that smuggling the video would likely subject you to some things, but a video of a video, I don't know. You know, that's one of those things where maybe you might be able to get away with that, as been proven with other releases previously. So you gotta take a chance. Someone has to take a chance, because, as you said, it's going to be more of the same. You know, you run up against the NDA, you go as far as you can go, and then boom, NDA. So it's either you cross the line or you just continue with the cycle. I think most will probably continue with the cycle, but there has to be, I've seen maybe Lou Elizondo, maybe David Grush have shown that compassion for the greater good, but they still didn't cross the line. So, but they're right there. And so I think that there's a person that may feel that same way, that's like, no, things need to change. Things are going to change. I'm siding with humanity over the government, and we're just going to see where the cards fall.
I get that, and I can see your point on that. I think, though, if I were to look at that situation, I look at Edward Snowden, where a lot of people still think that he needs to be tried for treason in the United States. I don't think, even if he was pardoned, I don't think that he would be very safe in the United States. There's a lot of people who'd be out to get him. And, it's a sad state of affairs when that happens. But I think that's the case that might happen to a whistleblower if all of a sudden they came out by stealing some sort of government videos or photos, or even unredacted top secret documents. That's a scary, scary thing, man, when you're looking at Leavenworth or you're looking at Guantanamo Bay as your future.
But that's assuming that everything is, see, with the Snowden, the information that he released was shocking, and it was pretty deep, but it wasn't the information that's going to change the world. See, that's what this is. The information that would be released by these whistleblowers is information that could potentially instantly shake up everything in the world, and may cause a snowball effect of other people who see that person taking that risk and say, okay, I'm with you, I'm coming out too. Oh, I'm with you. And we're talking about not just in the United States, but different countries around the world, where this now becomes this global movement. And I just don't see it with information that's enough to shake up the world.
Sweet Robbie G filling in for Tim James on the UFO Report tonight. Going this way from top of the hour.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
Sorry there, Sweets.
Yeah, no, I'm used to it.
I know. I know. I love it. I love it.
The Doug Shelby.
The Doug Shelby.
And I've been having a fun time saying, "Let's ask McCoy." Ask McCoy.
Wise ass McCoy. Oh yeah.
Sierra says, "Rob G, what if they threaten your family?" That's you take that into consideration before you come out and you do this. So you keep your family close, and you make sure all eyes are on you in the moment. I mean, you're gonna have to come at it correctly, but you're just gonna have to prepare before you do it. And with the spotlight on you, it'd be a lot harder for things to happen right in the public eye. So I just don't. I think once if you set it up right and you don't divulge the secrets, that's the thing. You stay away from the black projects and the actual government secrets. They cannot classify the extraterrestrial presence. They just can't. And I don't think that you might be riding up against the line by saying where these things are. But hey, if you're going to go all in, you might as well go all in. Somebody has to do it, because otherwise you're in the same little cycle that will continue forever if you allow it to. If you don't challenge it, that cycle will continue to go for the rest of your life, and things won't change. So at the risk of having the world change for the better potentially, yeah, you got to kind of weigh out your options.
Very true. Very true. And Sweets there, just rocking the place. Sweets is rocking the place.
Yeah, man, chilling, man. So you had Tom on, man. No, I missed that. What'd you say?
I just said Pat Monahan, welcome.
Oh, Pat Monahan, welcome.
Says Ross Coulthard said all hell was going to break loose at the beginning of the year too. Kind of made me lose faith in Ross, in addition to that one News Nation piece.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's the egg piece he's talking about.
Probably.
Yeah. I just feel like there's something there. I feel like there's a move. I feel like that was all purposely done. I really do. Because, and I think it might be more for protection of the person that actually leaked the video or released the video to him. Because I think and I've said this, and Ross has confirmed this, that the people in those programs know that video is real. And they know. And so because it is something that is right next to the contractor, it's almost as high as a level as you can get to in whistleblowing, that you don't want to show that person's face initially, because that person is immediately in danger. And but the contractors, or the people who are holding that object, very well know that that's 100% real and authentic. And they end up, now they're afraid of what comes next. And Ross said, they know that that's real, and they know what else we have. This is what he said recently. So I just feel like there's something going to come from that way for sure. More to that story.
All right, hold on to that thought. Thank you to Pam, Walter, and Major Lee for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love tonight, everybody. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Grab yourself a pair of sweet Robbie G boxers as well, because you want that face down below. Here we go. Like 7 seconds. All right, here we go. The final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tinfoil on, people. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the host of this great show that entertains you each and every night. Sweet Robbie G is here with the UFO report, and we're going to continue with that momentarily. But first, I want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, sweet Robbie G. How you doing, my friend?
Doing excellent. Feeling really good. Feeling really, really good.
All right. I've been in this field for about 10 years now, over 10 years now. You've been doing it a couple of years. We're going to have some fun here for a minute, Rob. If you don't mind. You do like fun, correct?
Of course. Let's go.
All right. I always find it funny, and I'm gonna fire a salvo over some people's heads here. I always find it funny when I'm watching these YouTube chat rooms or these podcasts or on Facebook, any social media really, where you get these podcasters who will say, I've been followed home by the men in black. They've knocked on my door because of my show, and they want me to stop. Have you ever heard them say that before?
Yeah, I definitely have.
What's your thoughts on that, man? Because if it is happening, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little jealous. 10 years, I haven't had my phone tapped that I know of. Never got the knock on the door. Never got the special phone call. Never been followed by black SUVs. The black helicopter that flies around here is for forest fires. Okay. I got nothing, Rob. I got nothing. And I'm kind of jealous here.
Well, like you said, that you know of, and if they're doing it right, you probably won't know until you've enacted some sort of movement. See, the thing with the government is, and most governments is, anytime they see someone, and you could just be starting out, but if you have that thing that could unite, people on a massive scale, if they could see you scaling up to a point to where you can garner the citizens' support in a big way. That's the thing that scares governments, is a united front, a united movement. If they see that you're that type of person that might grow to a point to where you might be able to affect that, then they may start watching you early. You could be on a list early. We know they've been tapping phones in the early 2000s and pretty much listening to trigger words, keywords. There's a list online of like 1,000 different words that if you were to say these words, and they're random words you wouldn't even think about, that the NSA puts you on a list, or they start paying attention to you in your phone call, even though you may not be anyone talking about really anything. But if you said chocolate cake or whatever, and there was a lot of weird words on there that you wouldn't even think, and it was released, official list, and if you say any of those words, they put you on a list. So I don't know if you have to have super notoriety in order to at least be on a list, and anything that could be the government will also try to take, if you say anything against their point of view, then you may be looked at as anti-government, which if they put a label on you like that, then now all of a sudden you're a terrorist, or you're one of these, you're putting this other group over here. So, and then they watch you, and then they might watch you. So it just depends. It's almost like, you know, I used to look at people 10 years ago, 15 years ago, who would stand on the corner and sit there and they'd be talking to themselves. And I'd be like, man, what's wrong with that person? Something must be wrong with that person. But the more that I understand consciousness and all this thing, and being able to communicate in other ways, now I look at that person like, wait a minute, that he might be talking to someone. He might be connected on some level. And it's just, you look at things differently. So yeah, you could literally be on this list right now, Dave. And I think you are, right? Because you put the hat on every night, right?
Hey, I know I'm on the list. I know, and this is true story. Okay. I have two people, and I've had to go through this with two people, both in intelligence, that I've talked to on the phone. Okay. And because we've had more than one conversation online and on the phone, I have had to give up who I am, give up my personal information. Because the one thing in the intelligence community is, when you work for the CIA, or you work for the NRO, or the US Air Force, or United States Navy, or whatever group it may be, they being the higher ups, want to know why you're talking to a foreign national. And as much as we don't look at Canada, the United States, as being different, I'm still a foreign national being from Canada. So I have had to give up my information twice in order to continue those conversations, even though there was no NDAs broken or nothing serious. But it's the area code that kind of says, hey, why are you calling Canada? Or why are you talking to somebody from Canada for over an hour? Because they check the phones. So I've had to do that twice, which I'm very fine with, because I got nothing to hide. I don't have a criminal record. I'm definitely not a spy, because I'm way too overweight for that. That's for sure. You know, I'm definitely not the James Bond type. I could barely. I'm more like Paul Blart. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You know when Paul Blart does the slide and he misses it, he comes up short. That would be me. Okay, still to me.
God.
Still to me, that part right there is one of the best scenes ever in a comedy movie. Right there. I love that scene. But I guess where I have troubles with it, and not to sound arrogant, okay, because I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but when you have somebody who, say, has 143 followers on YouTube, and they're making bold claims that they're being followed by SUVs, and black helicopters are continually flying over their house, you know, and that they're after them, all because of what they posted on their YouTube channel, which is much less than what we do. I feel ripped off, Rob. I feel ripped off.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's 143 subscribers on YouTube. Maybe they have 100,000 on Rumble, or 50,000 on TikTok, or Twitch, or some other outlet. There are other social media platforms where people are doing big things. So you never know. You never know.
143 or less on each platform.
Well, in that case, okay, that's where I would look at what they're saying. So they may be saying some really radical things that may supersede the amount of subscribers they have. They could be saying some really detrimental things that could get put on the list. Enemies of the state are, the governments take that stuff really seriously, and they will monitor you, because at some point, if they miss you, and you all of a sudden get to this point to where you can now garner this movement, then they've failed. So it really depends on, I think, what they're saying whether that would weigh out. They're just talking about regular UFO stuff and nothing, no big deal, then maybe, probably not. But if they're saying some really true to heart stuff that if heard on a larger stage could really affect something, maybe so.
Maybe. Not buying it though. Not buying it.
For the most part, no. It is basically the answer. For the most part, no. So I'll go with you on that.
But that's what I'm saying is, do you know how many blacked out SUVs there are?
Yeah, there's
I
a
mean,
lot.
you live in California. Every third vehicle is a blacked out SUV.
Well, not only that, but I hear, I'm up late sometimes, or I'll probably up late tonight, and I'll hear what sounds like a Black Hawk or some sort of military chopper fly across, and it could literally just be the police chopper, flying at night, but it's still low enough to where you're getting that thud. And I don't think of it as the government flying helicopters over the house, but I could literally see in those moments how someone who's paranoid could maybe think about it like that. So yeah, I think a lot of it is paranoia, and people just seeing, or the paranoia is really taking over because they are afraid because they're beginning to broach these topics that they think the government is interested in, that they automatically hear something like that and now it's related to the government. So that's probably how that goes. And I know myself, because like I said, I disregard that. Even though it seems like they fly over 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. I could easily be like, oh my God, choppers over the house. But I don't take that route.
Well, it's something that just kind of, I just shake my head at. I do.
Yeah.
I know people have been on this show and they've got phone calls afterwards saying, yeah, you might not want to talk about that. Or if you talk about that again, okay. And these are people who are connected. I know that has happened. And I couldn't imagine all of a sudden getting on that phone call from somebody who's like, yeah, dude, can't go on your show anymore. Got the phone call. And that was literally the conversation I've had with at least one person.
If I ever get that phone call, and they say, oh, I don't think you should be talking about that. I'm gonna be like, or what? I'm gonna be that person that pushes that line, and I just don't ever let me get that phone call, because it's gonna rule something. They're gonna have to do something to me behind free speech and me saying what I want to say. So, yeah.
What'd you do if you got that phone call?
I would know that what I'm saying is very important. And if as long as it wasn't anything that was going to harm the country, or as long as my message promoted moving the needle for humanity, I'm gonna keep talking. That just lets you know you're on the right path if somebody's trying to shut it down. So you got to go even stronger at that point. That's just who I am, and that's what I would do.
See,
what are they going to do? They're going to give you the phone call. Then what? Or were you supposed to just be like, oh, okay, I'm going to stop? What would you do, Dave?
I don't know how I would react. I know I could give one example of that where a person got the phone call after being on this show saying, we think it's a good idea that you don't go on the show anymore. And this person said, I didn't break my NDA, nor would I, But I guess in their opinion, them being the alphabet agency's opinion, they skirted the gray area a little too closely and recommended that he didn't do that anymore.
And then I would hit record on my phone and say, could you say that again just a little bit louder for me? Could you say that again? Got it. And I'll be on there again next week, just so you know.
And for people asking, no, it's not random guy. Somebody else. But it's hard. It's hard, Rob, because you have to be able to, play the game with secrecy and everything, especially if you held major positions within the military or the alphabet organizations.
If they're doing that, right? If they're gonna threaten employment, then then you have to take that into consideration. But also, your freedom of speech is constitutional, and as long as you didn't sign anything that says you can't say it, then obviously you'd have to play by that rule. As long as it wasn't something that they shouldn't be hiding behind an NDA, like we were talking about with the extraterrestrial thing. If it's something else in relation to, something that's clearly should be covered by NDA, then yeah, you don't talk about stuff like that. But, it just depends on what it is that they're trying to get you to stop saying. And if if there's nothing in place that should, to where they shouldn't, if they're making a phone call, then likely they just want you to stop talking about it, but you likely probably don't have to stop talking about it. And so that's where you just start documenting these phone calls, and you can't allow yourself to be intimidated, because usually it's case by case. Obviously, it's going to be a message that for whatever reason they don't want you telling. But if there's nothing wrong with it, and you shouldn't be held back from saying it, then why would you stop saying it? And you kind of got to weigh that out. Okay, maybe I'll lose the job over that, but is the free speech more important than that? And those sort of decisions have to come into play.
3.5 minutes to go here, Robbie. What picks you about UFOs?
What picks me?
Yeah, what gets you?
What gets me, gets me going, or what exactly you mean by get?
What gets you fired up?
Just the fact that we have an opportunity in this moment because of them, their presence here, and to actually do something to change the direction of humanity, which, if you look in our past, doesn't come along very often, which means we're living in a great moment right now. And we have a chance to make contact with whatever this is and potentially change the way that we move forward as human beings, which is so epic that it probably won't come again for another 1,000 years or so, a moment like this. And just that fact, just knowing that tomorrow could be that day. And if the drone situation turns out to be what we thought it was or think it was, that could have been the time where they were trying to reach out and make that connection so we can have that moment. So that's what gets me, and that's what fuels me and drives me in this subject.
I love the drive. And what do you want to see happen this year?
I want to see, tastefully, I want to see a whistleblower come out and push the limits of an NDA. Maybe even consult an attorney and see how far they can go to take it further than it's ever gone before. And that's about it. I beg to say break NDA, but I've said it before and I'll say it. If you got to do it, and do it for humanity, do it for your family, have that compassion as a human being, side on humanity versus the government. The government is a machine. Humanity, that's your descendants, your loved ones. and you got to do it for who you're going to do it for. Who do you love more?
I just love the story. I love the story, man.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the beautiful one, is to see where this story goes. It's kind of like a puzzle, you know? It really is like a puzzle. And when you have that puzzle, you know, when you first take a puzzle out of the box and the first thing you do is you turn over all the pieces that are upside down.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
The faux story to me, I don't know how it is for you, but for me, it's kind of like you never turn them right side up to see what the colored pieces are. Everything's that bland cardboard gray color on the back of a puzzle piece. And that's how you try and build the puzzle, is just like that. That's what I think the UFO story is much like.
Yeah. I mean, it's one that it's up, like, it's been going on. The secret has been going on for so long. We're so close to breaking that chain, and we have to do it, because we know this could easily be another 80 years to 100 years before we're at this point again. So we got to do it. We can't fail. It's in our hands. Our descendants will be so happy and proud that we saw this thing through to the finish line, and we just got to do it. We just have to do it.
Well, we're going to have to do it, man. We're going to have to do it again, because I love having you on this show, buddy. You're one of the best.
You know it. Filling in big shoes for Tim. Tim, if you were watching out there, sir, big shoes to fill.
Oh, big shoes. Big shoes. And you got nicer hair than him. No offense. All right, Robbie, we're going to say Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up. God himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. Twitch, LCAT, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travel, Club, and on X, Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SMR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for waiting for you to break. Because together, my
don't
friend,
make a mistake. We're watching.
Beyond the Night. Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Blue Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. So always careful, your tickets never expire. Now, if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. All right, sweets.
Great. We are clear. And some of you Monday through Friday people out there, we'd love to see you on the weekends. Make sure you guys come and check us out on the after hours show. Saturdays and Sundays, I know you're probably busy doing things, but you should come hang out. We have a great time on the weekend. We have some awesome things going on there. Drew Banky is one of the features that we have on the weekend. Steve Stockton, Tales Untold Missing Person Mysteries, UFO and Weird News, a lot of good stuff. So you come on over and check us out Saturdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. You can watch us live or on the replay. We'd appreciate it. When does the new show start, Dave?
Maybe this Sunday.
The midday thing. This Sunday?
Yeah, I got to talk to Christian.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be glad to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get him
How
to tee
fat?
you up later on that night.
Yeah. And share the shows, guys, with your friends. Don't be stingy. Share with some of your best friends, some people you want to bring into the topic who may not be into this yet. If each one of us shared to one friend or two friends, bring in a guest one weekend. Maybe we'll set up a day where it's like bring a friend night, and if you bring a friend, that you get some sort of I don't know, something, maybe some swagger. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Because we could double, triple the numbers just like that, just by having a bring a friend night. So maybe we'll think about that and try to figure that out. And share on your socials, like Dr. Love says. That's a good thing to do as well.
All right, let's publish this bad
Yeah,
boy.
Mike Bothwell says, new show. What? We got a new show coming.
Yeah. My guest from a couple weeks ago, Christian McLeod, he is going to be starting a 1-hour show on Sundays. Hopefully bumps it up to 2 if he feels comfortable. And we are going to be just talking cryptids, paranormal, real good stuff. I think it'll be a fun show. I do.
Yep. So you got to tell a friend.
You
Because
do.
I go to other chats and I see you guys in those other chats. I know, believe me, I remember all your names. And when I go to these other shows, I see you guys taking part over there. So while you're over there, just let everybody know that we're doing some fun, awesome stuff over here, and that's how we can do it. That's how it can go. Tell a friend.
That's why it goes. That's why you're the sweets, man.
Yeah. Karen means sharing.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That is true, sweet Robbie G.
Yeah. Yep.
Weird.
So good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. That Jake, that egg video though, I think is going to go further, because I'm telling you, that egg shape, like that's not a fake video. I'm just going to go out there and say that that's not fake. I've seen shapes. I've recorded shapes like that. My UFO sighting was pretty much exactly that object right there. I interviewed Caroline Corey a couple weeks ago. Told her I'm going to send her my video, because it also, I think those egg things are the same things that you see in Terror in the Sky, and they fit that tic tac sort of shape. So that the thing happening down here in Southern California, you get a lot of those same objects there. So I think there's more to that. And when Ross Coulthard said that those people in those programs know that video is real, and when they seen that video being shown, they're like, holy sheesh. And they know that he has more than that hasn't been released. So I don't know, Dave. That might be the story of the year later. I don't know. I'm gonna predict. I'll make a prediction. I'll say summer, mid to late summer, we'll have something on that.
We'll see.
Hold my feet to the fire.
We'll see. I don't think it's going to shut right down. I mean, we're going to get more, obviously. I think we will get more, but I mean, I don't think we're going to get more in depth. There's a big difference.
I just feel like if Jake Barber would have been the one connected to that video, I just feel like immediately Jake Barber, assuming the video is 100% authentic, and knowing that video is a craft being retrieved by a contractor and being taken to a contractor facility, if Jake Barber was the one connected to that video, the threat level would be so high for that guy. And I think that's why they did it like that. Put him as a face, but then said he was not connected to that. So either he is connected to it, and they just said he wasn't, or they are shielding the person that is actually connected to it. And I really believe it's because if we knew who it was, or if they knew who it was, that person would be in immediate danger. If you think about Grush was threatened so much, and he was the highest whistleblower we had gotten as far as closest to what was going on. This next person connected to that video would be in, man, you'd have to hire armed guards for that person going forward. So I think they're just hiding or shielding that person for now and trying to figure out the best way to go forward with that. That's just the feeling that I get, but time will tell. I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. 1 second here, Robbie. Just trying to get
Yep.
my edit set up here. There we go. I'm excited to see you in Vegas, dude.
Yeah, same. We had fun last year in Reno, and Vegas is going to be even more epic and awesome. So many more things to do, places to go. The Area 51 trip is going to be big because, like I said, I tried to go before I got to the dirt road. I started going down the dirt road, but my girl was with me. She got scared and was like, no, let's turn around. And so I had to turn around for her, or else I would have gone right to the gate. So she owes me a trip back, but I guess we'll probably do it here on this trip in May. So guys, be there. You want to go to the gate. Get your photo right at the Area 51 gate.
Runa is asking, what's up with the random guy saying Jake Barber's story doesn't check out? There are a number of veterans who are very into this subject, who know the system way more than I do, especially with me being Canadian, and they say that his history that he claims about his military background and programs are false, and it's almost close to like stolen valor. And I'm not about to speak on that because I don't know how that works. I've never served in the military. I don't have family who served. So, but there are some people who are veterans who are questioning his resume, and that's what it's all about. And they believe that they've found evidence that there might be some mistruths there.
Yeah, Sierra's a good point. But random guy says Baker checks out. Why does Baker back up Jake Barber then? It is stolen valor. It's a good question. Because I know all military guys don't play with the stolen valor thing. So I would assume if Jake Barber is stolen valor, then Baker would not back that, or he would clearly call him out for that, for one. And then why would he back him up? And then I guess random guy backs up Baker. So if you back up Baker, Baker backs up Barber, then wouldn't you have to back up Barber as well? Or what would be the... Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, Sierra.
I'm hesitant to get into that conversation because I don't know how it works. And without a clear, full understanding of how that works, it would be absolutely rude and wrong of me to comment on that. Not that I'm trying to dodge the question. I don't like dodging the questions, but when you get into veterans and their resumes, if you don't understand it like I do, I don't, coming from another country and not having the time to study up on it, it would be extremely unfair of me to say something that I'm talking out of my ass with. So
yeah,
that's why I'm kind of dodging the question there.
Yeah, well, I can definitely say stolen valor veterans don't play with that at all. Like none of them. And if they don't respect it, none of them, they would not back up anybody who has stolen valor. That's just something that you go on YouTube right now and type in stolen valor, and you see how they treat guys that they have zero respect for those guys. So unless Baker is yeah, I mean it's very interesting, Sierra. I would look more further into that and try to answer. Yeah, stolen valor is a federal crime. Because you have some people, they'll put on these military outfits, never been in the military at all, and they'll go to these restaurants and try to get these discounts and veteran perks. And what'll happen is an actual veteran will catch them on camera and go up to them and confront them right then and there, tell them take the patch off, tell them it's bad. It is bad. They literally don't play at all with that. And it is shameful. It's sad that you would do that because these guys go out there and put their lives on the line, and you think you can just put on a uniform and like, dude, that is whack. It's very whack.
Absolutely. And to somebody like me who is ignorant to that, I don't know what the patches mean. I don't know what the bars mean. I don't know what the flags represent on the lapel. I don't know what that means. Right?
Yeah.
Like I know vaguely what it means, but not enough to be able to say, okay, that's fake, that's real. I could never do that. I'm not educated enough.
Oh man, you gotta, if you've ever seen Dave, when you get time, go on YouTube, type in stolen valor. You will be
I have. I've seen
wow.
videos, but the way they're able to pick out these fake vets.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They're like, oh, you don't have, you're not buttoned in the straight line. You don't have your such and such. You don't have, where's your this? Where's your that? I don't see any of that. You were where and you did what? And they immediately they know. And and you
where were you in the country? And who did you serve under that?
Yeah, the keywords and things they should know. Yeah. And it's always funny to me because the look on the person's face, because they've been fooling the restaurant owners and they've been coming here every week getting this discount, and then they finally get caught, and the look on their face is priceless. And it's like, you got busted, buddy. Very shameful.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the question I wanted to answer? Why is Derek? Why are the veterans' names? Or who are the veterans' names? I mean, why random guy so vague? Random guy has to be vague, and that goes down a slippery slope of trust me, bro type of information. But I can tell you this: random guy has been vetted by not just me, but other people that I know. And he is someone whose word is good. And I'm not just saying that because he's a friend of mine, because I don't, like I said, I don't know the military. I know people who do know the military who have checked him out, and he is very real. Thank you, Deborah Rooney, for that lovely super chat. Appreciate you. I think I got them all.
Yeah, and I still haven't met random guys, so we're this long overdue. That's long overdue.
You're gonna meet him here. He'll be in Vegas with us.
Yeah, long overdue.
You'll get to wear red Nike, New York Yankee hats with him.
No, he's rocking that too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Random Gee.
Yeah, RG. I don't even know his full resume. I know part of it, and there is the majority of it that he has told me don't even ask.
Mm.
And when you're building sources and you're building trust in people, you have to respect that. Derek, yes, I have had Sean Hazlitt on the show again. I'd love to get him back on. No Mike Bothwell, no live stream this year.
No official live stream this year. Like, who knows? We might just turn the phone on and hit the live button or something like that. You never know.
Yeah. That's always fun. That is always fun. The main reason why I didn't do a live stream this year is because, just to be blunt, I couldn't afford it. Between, I think the last 2 years total, I've lost about $5,000 on the event in the last 2 years. And right now, with the economy and everything the way it is, I just can't afford to do that right now. I still haven't paid off my credit card debt from last year on it, dude.
Man.
And Rob knows that that's the truth because I've been open about that
Yep.
with our team meeting. So it's not that I'm bullshitting anybody.
True facts.
Yeah. You know, and
Yeah.
and it's not just me who's having a tough time. There's a lot of our listeners who would love to go, who just can't afford to right now. We're putting it on for the listeners. And and like last year, I think we had about 15 special guests show up, and we had maybe 15 listeners there. And all of these special guests showed up. All of these special guests show up to hang out with you guys, and unfortunately, there wasn't many to hang out with. And it was.
But the ones that were there, we did have a great time with, though.
Oh yes, we did. Yes, we did. Like Mama Catherine and Charlie.
Oh yeah.
Vaughn Patrick, Marty Burback.
Yep.
A few others.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt bad for our for the special guests who came out of their way on our word to go there. And
Tim Mothman and his goatee.
Yeah, Tim Mothman and his goatee will be there. So we just decided we're going to continue with the Vegas trend, but we're going to, we're going to continue doing it the way we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Plus, there's just so much to do in Las Vegas. I mean, if you really want to find something to do, there's something to do for sure. So you don't have to have an organized thing. We can go bowling. We can go to the skating rink. There's a 1,000 million things to do.
I want to see you on skates, Rob.
I'm actually good on skates, man. I'm good on skates. I want to see you on skates, sir. You're supposed to be this hockey guy, so you must be the best skater in the world, right? You must be.
I am a terrible skater. Terrible.
How? That doesn't make sense.
I can hold my own on there, but compared to some of the people I've trained, I look like a dog's breakfast out there skating compared to people I've worked with.
Because I went from skates to ice skates, as we have an ice skating rink in Sacramento. We went with school, and it was like, it was immediate. I got on ice skates. It was no different than skating. So you would assume it's the same way in reverse. So if you're a hockey player, you played hockey, you're supposed to be good on the skates, the ice. You would assume you'd be excellent on roller skates, especially inline skates.
A lot of people have a great easy transition going from roller skates or pardon me, like inline skates to ice blades. But if you've never really done the rollerblading, it's completely different skating style.
On
the ice,
is it the ankles? Because your ankles.
No, on the ice you're pushing back. With the roller blades, you're pushing out.
Okay. I can see that. Because I truthfully, I haven't mastered inline skates at this point. So I'm just on my regular skates. Four-wheel skates.
I hear you, my man. I hear you.
But I know some people that just never let go of the side of the skating rink. Like some of those people, I'm not that. No, I go out there and I mingle, kind of move through the lanes, kind of see what everybody's doing. Not skating backwards, though. I'm not doing that.
Oh, that's easy. I like skating backwards.
Well, I probably could, but it's a meme, right? If you mess up in this time, yeah, it's a meme. But a little kid will do it right past me. A little 5-6-year-old kid will come in there and move in, move out, spin around, and I'm not doing all that, right? But I can hold my own for sure. So yeah, we'll have to do some stuff. You got to try the Crack Shack, man. When you get out there, the Crack Shack. I discovered them last time I was down there a week ago, and it's probably the best thing I've eaten out there so far. No lovey love. Hockey does not look hella fun. It just doesn't.
Hi, Christine Lynn. All right, sweets. It's that time of the night where I'm going to say good night. And tomorrow night on the show, Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You here for your entertainment purposes. Yes, we are going to get to that tomorrow. And thank you tonight to Sweet Debbie Pie, Pam, Walter, and Lee for the super chats. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week. I'm here Monday through Friday. This guy right here is Saturday and Sunday. We both have great chin hair. It's very Canadian. I'm white. He's red.
Yeah.
Very Canadian.
Yeah.
And good night to all of you. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.